So a lot of Ursula Le Guin's world building is pretty political, like The Dispossessed.
Yes.
How did that influence you? And was that something you ever discussed? And also, do you think it explicitly colored your approach to the Mars trilogy?
Well, thank you for that. Yes, yes, and yes. And I'm glad you brought it up because, again, if I'd had more time, I'd talk about it, and I will now. Ursula's politics were American leftist of a different variety than mine, but we were both the kind of American leftists that said, look, the front is broad, and we just take our different points of view and work together rather than the narcissism of small differences, where leftists fight leftists because they're the only people that understand the nature of the argument. So, The Dispossessed is an anarchist text, and man, it is a very interesting and compelling thought experiment. What would it be like to live in an anarchist society? Because really, anarchism is almost like, it's almost politically autistic, where everybody's free and everybody's free contract between everybody and there are no rules. And she actually wrote me one of these emails to thank me for my introduction to Magpie Killjoy's anarchist. I wrote the introduction. I said, anarchy can mean no rules or no ruler in the Greek. And I say it means no ruler, because you have to have rules. And even on Anaris, there's rules in the anarchistic society. It's like management of the commons. The commons was not a space where you could do anything. It was managed and regulated. And anarchism, as I understand it, would be a complete horizontalization of power and wealth. And that's the anarchist goal, a distant horizon that everybody should be shooting for. And so she and I came at it from our different angles. I was much more of a Marxist-Leninist and a statist. And so her anarchism, as she told me, came out of the Tao Te Ching. And her translation of the Tao Te Ching is fabulously good. And you need to cross-reference it with 3 or 4 others to realize how amorphous and murky that document is. But she's comes to anarchism from the Tao and from that strain of Chinese literature that I think comes also from her father, the anthropological strain. So this is and also I stayed up all night to read The Dispossessed. I had a little science fiction library club hardback. It was like short and light. I got to what I call the Dickinson point, which is the point where you have to finish this book in that sitting. It comes from Peter Dickinson, who does it all the time. But I got to that point with her, and it was like 1 a.m. So I stayed up till like 4 a.m. to read The Dispossessed. And when I was done, I was thinking, you can write a utopian novel and make it work as a novel. And that blew my mind. That was 1975. And it was a huge impact on the Mars trilogy and everything that I've done since. Probably in terms of the content of, rather than the form, the content. Her influence comes to me mostly from Left-Handed Darkness and from The Dispossessed as gender and politics. So she was really important. And I know she still is to all anarchists and all American leftists who are thinking about it. So thank you.
And when you look at Left-Handed Darkness, it's a novel about refugees and culture clash. It's a novel about gender and sort of levels of trust. It's a novel where a society sees a potential to progress that's kind of offered to them and isn't sure if it's going to kind of take the offer. I mean, two societies actually on that planet. So it's a pretty interesting foil for the moment we're in now with just some of those themes.
Yep. Left Hand is a great novel. I would say it's her masterpiece and one of the great novels of the 20th century. And it has to do with a couple of things. The Carhide is feudal. The other society on the other side of the world is socialist in a bad Soviet totalitarian way. There isn't a capitalist society. There's only these two struggling, and both of them mired in their problems. So it has a lot of interesting political thoughts. I think she was thinking that maybe the two of them together was a portrait of the United States in the 1960s. Partly feudal, partly bad socialism, but no function, no real culture. And then the gender thing for me was that most of the time, gender isn't important for social life. Sometimes it is. Pay attention to that. And when my wife and I had our first kid, then she's a scientist working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And when my boy was 10 weeks old, which I took over and was a caretaker of this child, Mr. Mom, as they put it in the great movie by Michael Keaton. I was Mr. Mom for years. And the left-handed darkness, this idea, the king was pregnant, which obviously I wasn't, but the king did a lot of bottle feedings, that were very maternal in their affect. And I thought, yeah, man, what Left Hand helped me was to conceptualize the feelings that I had. The structure of feeling had changed because of that book. So I was just Kemmer had come along, and I was in my female existence, and I was really happy. I thought I was pretty good at it. So this is profound what literature can do for you, and she knew that. I think she knew she had hit it out of the park with that book.